What is the moment you realized you were dating a keeper? My mom died unexpectedly when I was 20. I'm 29 now and sometimes still have a really difficult time dealing with the emotions of losing her. 1 year right around her birthday, I was feeling pretty blue. I came home from work on her actual birthday and he was standing in the kitchen holding a cake he had baked, complete with a lit candle, and said just because she died doesn't mean we can't celebrate that she lived. I just sobbed and he held me close until I had cried it out. Then we celebrated her life. Every year since then, he has bought her a birthday card and we light a candle to remember her. He's an amazing man. Edit. Forgot a word edit again. Thank you so much for the gold. Kind Redditor. You made my day. I'll pay it forward soon. I personally don't have those moments that people talk about when they know it happened. I usually remember the progression. For me though, one day I kind of realized I had been thinking about us all the time. What I mean by that is before we met, I had plans and visions of traveling to different places and doing different things. I would hike the Earth and cycle across America. I would go to new cities and find a great job. I would have all these adventures and meet all these people. I was going to have a blast. I stopped thinking and at some point, those thoughts became us having all these adventures. We would travel to a new city and start a life. We would do this awesome thing and go to this awesome place. We would have a great life. She snuck her way into my life and I didn't even know it. When I realized that, I realized that was exactly what I wanted. She was exactly what I wanted. We are exactly what I want. We are brown bear. FTFY. My older sister came to visit when I first began dating my girlfriend. I had told my girlfriend how close I was to my sister and how wonderful she was. Previous girlfriends had found my sister threatening because of our closeness. My girlfriend couldn't come over due to obligations until about 10 PM on the evening my sister arrived. My sister was in the guest room in bed, beneath a mosquito netting. I live in the tropics. When my girlfriend and I walked in the room, she lifted the netting, crawled in next to my sister and gave my sister a big hug, telling her how happy she was to meet her. They have been close ever since. And my girlfriend and I have been married now for 24 years. I think it's safe to say she's your wife now. Maybe. That she still smiles every time we kiss. Just like the first time. Every time. Wouldn't trade it for anything. We'd been dating long distance for a few months. And then one night he surprised me by popping over unexpectedly. I leaped out the door and attached myself to him. Hadn't really realized how much I needed him before that. He moved in right then. And it's been the best 12 years of my life since. My boyfriend was an Eagle Scout who collected rocks when he was little. He had purchased a heart-shaped tiger's eye from Disneyland when he was a tot, and kept it hidden with the intention of gifting it to the girl he was going to marry. One night, when I was almost asleep, he asked me if I would want a promise rock. This is the first he had mentioned the rock. And in my sleep-talking haze, I didn't understand and kept repeating. Promise gravel? How romantic. Full stop. Months later he gave me the rock for Christmas. Despite my sleepy subconscious being a real killjoy. It is the single most sentimental object I own and is a physical symbol of all the incredibly romantic things he has done for me. Are you two secretly otters? It's okay, I won't tell. Jesus Christ. Marie. The minerals. My boyfriend and his family have this little ritual where they squeeze each other's hand 3 times to signify I love you. 4 times as a return to signify I love you too. I didn't know that he had told me he loved me in this secret family way until after we'd told each other with words how we felt. All that time he'd been telling me he loved me and I was never saying it back because I never knew not to make a big deal out of it. Not to get me to say it back. Not because he wanted anything, but just because he wanted to tell me he loved me in his own special way. When I found that out, I think I realized that this was more than love. I don't know if this will mean anything to anyone but me, but I think it's painfully romantic and it makes my heart hurt. When he showed up on my doorstep with wine in San Francisco after driving 8 hours as a surprise. Somehow he managed to keep it all a secret till he was there. I thought I wasn't going to get to see him at all that summer. His reason? He just missed me. Booked tickets to fly next day to America from Scotland the day before her birthday after saying I would be there if I could. And realizing I had no good reason to not be there. She left me for one of our closest friends. I would have kept her forever. The feeling must not have been mutual. When I realized he'd never broken a promise to me. No matter how big or small. He said he'd be there at 3. He's there at 3. He said he'll take out the trash. It is done. Ouch. Mind never does what he says. And it's driving me insane. He's perpetually late. He forgets the most basic things. And the worst thing is, he doesn't do it on purpose. When I pooped her bed, was deathly sick. Some kind of food poisoning. And had literally no control over anything. Woke up covered in poo. And just said oh my god and ran to the bathroom. Came back. And everything was already cleaned up. Fresh sheets. Mattress flipped. And she never did anything but make sure I was okay. She's comfortable enough to clean up my poo? Keep her. She did a flawless running man while eating a Rice Krispie treat. When I realized that I had spent 2 months straight with him. Literally every single day. Without getting sick of him. I've always been super independent and I usually got sick of people quickly. My relationships never lasted more than a few months. We've lived together for a little over a year. And I still get butterflies when I come home to him. I was in college. I was working 2 jobs. 60 hours a week. I met her on OkCupid. She would come over and we would hang out. Often we would watch a movie and I would fall asleep exhausted. She would put the covers over me. Go downstairs. Walk past the front door. Through the dining room. The kitchen and into the computer room to say goodbye to my dad. Every time she left. She made sure to say goodbye to my parents. Edit. I was informed I didn't actually answer the ups question. The moment was when my father stopped me one day and told me something along the lines of for the last X times Samantha has been here. She has come down and said goodbye to me after you fell asleep on her. If you keep doing that you are going to lose her. We had been together for almost 2 years already and I loved him so much already. But I knew when we were in line at Subway and they asked him what kind of bread he liked and he said, Italian. Paused. Looked at me. And whispered that's the kind I like. Right? I had been reading Reddit posts like these before hopping into the shower. He was playing Dota. I kept thinking about how he never succeeds at trying to surprise me. He says he's no good at it and so doesn't even try anymore. And how I really wanted that. When I got out of the shower there was a plate of cut up apples with peanut butter and honey and a hot cup of coffee. He knows exactly how much cream and sugar I like. Next to the bed. I felt both ashamed that I had wanted more from him and actually cried over this small gesture. I realized that he knew me well enough to know what I wanted. Early on in our relationship I was in and out of sleep one night and he's awake confessing his love for me to my cat. I don't remember everything he said but when I woke up the next morning with our bodies completely entwined with one another with very little space between, that's when I knew. The past 5 years we've been through it all and I wouldn't trade any of it for anything. She got us tickets to a hockey game on Valentine's Day. Edit. We had been dating for a little less than a year and I was crazy about him. But still had some reservations because we're young and who hasn't been hurt before? Well. My grandmother passed away late December and I got the call from my mom while he was at band practice. He knew how much he meant to me. So when I called him crying, he left immediately and held me. I felt so safe and comforted that I knew he was really special. But the funeral was what really sealed the deal. He had only met my grandmother once and it was when she was pretty far gone. I wasn't expecting him to come to the funeral because it was 2 hours away and he'd have to face crazy holiday traffic. He drove almost 3 hours. In horrible traffic. In a very respectful suit to be with me for 1 hour. And even went through with meeting my entire extended family. He showed so much respect for me and for her that I knew I'd never find anyone else like him no matter how hard I tried. When he explained, in detail, the treehouse he plans to build for me, I almost didn't upvote you due to jealousy. I want a treehouse. The feeling of emptiness when she's not around. It's easy to take your so for granted when you spend all of your time with them. But I knew she was the one when she left for 8 months. Every minute she was gone felt like half of me was missing. Work sucked. Playing video games sucked. Watching sports sucked. I went to visit her halfway through the term she was gone and that feeling of unification is indescribable. At the same time, turning and walking away from her to airport security was the hardest thing I've ever done. Knowing it would be for long. Cold winter months before I could see her again. That was last Sunday. She'll be home for good in April when we'll move in together. Until then, back to reading Reddit threads at work because I simply lack the motivation to do anything else. We lived in the same catered hall during uni. That's how we met. I'm not a morning person so I'd often sleep through breakfast. I knew I'd found an awesome guy when he woke up early. Went to the dining hall and then braved my scary morning moods to bring me hash browns, a juice box and a bacon sandwich in bed. Just because he liked me. No special reason. Edit to avoid any more PMs that miss the point. The point I was trying to make was, I felt he was a keeper when I realized he didn't restrict his gestures of love, big or small, to special occasions or events, Valentine's, birthdays, caring for a sick partner, date night. It was every day. Not to mention how thoughtful and sweet that gesture was. And still is. Almost 8 years later he still makes me breakfast in bed. The special reason was because he liked you. I came home from the bar with 3-4 drunken people at about 3 AM. This was her apartment and I had just moved in. We woke her up being drunk and rowdy. She came downstairs. Made everyone some food and got beers. Took care of everyone till they sobered up or passed out. In the morning after everyone left she said to me. The moment she started telling me things that you know she doesn't tell everyone. And I started doing the same. When, after dating 2 months, we were walking back to my dorm after a night of drinking heavily and he reached up and grabbed a twig off of a tree and told me I have to keep it forever. Then 6 months later, his 3-year-old son comes up to me and hands me a twig and tells me the exact same thing. They are 2 peas. After we were together for over a year I awoke one morning feeling stiff and a little sore so I got up to stretch. My back was covered in red lines from her fingernails. And my chest and biceps were spotted with teeth marks. There was a knock on the door so I turned to see her come in with heart-shaped pancakes. When I realized every crazy idea I come up with, no matter how ridiculous, he always says, "Yeah, let's do it." He says this regardless of whether he thinks it will actually happen or not. But always enthusiastic and supportive. Absolutely love it. It's his support that's lead us to carry out the crazy whims. We always make travel plans and they take us to some amazing places. It's his willingness to follow me where I go and respect the things that I do no matter how outlandish that mean the world to me. When I after half a year of us dating, realized that this had been the most drama-less and yet still very passionate relationship I have been in. I have a history of very stormy relationships. And came to the realization that maybe that is how I love. I have also tried to date guys where my feeling was less strong and found that I pretty soon would lose interest and respect. My current boyfriend is the most fantastic guy. For many reasons. But he is a keeper because he and I can communicate like mentally healthy people. When I told him my absolute deepest darkest secret that I didn't think anyone would ever be able to understand. And he got it. I was sure he was going to leave me. But he accepted my flaws without hesitation. When we had a pregnancy scare and I wasn't scared. Watching the new Star Trek movie. She pauses at a critical moment in the film and says, "Who the hell is Khan? Can we watch the other movies so I can find out?" My inner child nerd high-fived me. When I realized that wherever he was felt like home. Edit. Gold. Now I am rich in love and karma. Thank you. Okay, Edward Sharp. I think it was when I had to move a cuddly Star Trek tribble in order to get into bed with her. That was the moment. When he made me soup when I had period pain. Was it chunky tomato? Probably when I told her I was bleeding out of my penis. Dot. To clarify, we had had rather vigorous intercourse. At some point there was a popping sound and amazingly my penis wasn't broken, so we finish. No fuss, no muss. Until the next day when I was having a whack, and when I finish out comes crimson cum. Never having broken my penis and never having jizzed blood. I was horrified. Surely this was cancer or herpes or penis rot. I'm stressing and thinking the worst all day. So I go over to my girlfriend's apartment all anxious. She notices and asks what's wrong. I'm close to panicking. I tell her nervously what happened. And what does she do? She drops everything and takes care of me and gets me out of panic mode. I was sure this kind of thing would drive her away, but instead my crimson horror drew her closer. It was then I knew that she was special and she'd help me through anything. 3 years later we're happily married and my penis is healthy. This sounds stupid, but it was when I met his dad. He'd already talked to me at length about how much his dad meant to him. How much he loved and respected him. When he talks about his parents, he cried almost every time. And then I met his dad and was like, this is who my boyfriend is going to become. Whoa. I was already married to him when I realized how truly amazing he was. It was the day our girls were born. Everything he did for me while I was in labor. How supportive he was. And then after everything, finally seeing him holding our girls and the look on his face. It was all just absolutely perfect. When I went back to his house drunkenly after a night out. We didn't sleep all night because he made me laugh constantly for about 8 hours instead of making a move. And then made me bacon in the morning. While we were dating. And my wife saw my guitar in my room. If my GF did that, I'd cut her off and point to my no stairway sign and see if she got it. He held my hand in the courtroom when they sent my rapist to jail. He is amazing. We're getting married in May. After we broke up. Came here to say this. Met the right person too soon in my life. God, I was stupid. But hey. Bright side. We're dating again. I've never been one to wear makeup before. I just wasn't raised that way, equally unfeminine mother. But I have a lot of insecurity about my appearance. I brought up wondering if I would look better with makeup. I expected him. As previous boyfriends, I had considered the idea too. I try to dance around saying you're right. Maybe you would look better. You should try it. Which invokes feeling like they don't like how I look already, even if they didn't mean it that way. Without missing a beat, he said if you think it would make you happy, you should give it a try. It felt like he solved some magic girl trap that I hadn't meant to set. As a single guy, I have no idea why I came to this thread. Regardless, the soccer jokes were pretty funny. Edit. I forget what had caused it. But for some reason my sir was super pissed about something. We were walking along and he saw this empty soda bottle that someone had left on the ground and kicked it as hard as he could in his frustration. Then he sighed. Walked way over to where he had kicked it. Picked it up and threw it away. He always does the right thing. When she found out about the real me and all my insecurities and flaws and mistakes. Then still wanted to be with me. When I farted in bed and she still came back the next night. Pheromones. It was the second or third time we banged. I ran outside her house buck naked to throw the condom in the garbage across the street. Came back inside to find her sitting naked on the floor where we left off. Eating Pringles. We laid there all night and talked till morning. That's when I knew. Edit. If you see this, Courtney. I love you. A+ for bringing absurdity to this thread.